बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम फ्रेंड्स, उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप सब खैरियत से होंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज के सेशन में हम डिस्कस करेंगे हाउ टू डायग्नोज द फॉल्स पॉजिटिव एंड फॉल्स नेगेटिव। वीडियो की तरफ बढ़ने से पहले हमारी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दें। चलिए फ्रेंड्स, आज के सेशन की तरफ बढ़ते हैं। देयर आर सम फॉल्स पॉजिटिव एंड नेगेटिव दैट आर नो ब्रेनर्स। दे आर क्लियरली ब्लैक एंड वाइट, बट देयर इज ऑलवेज अ ग्रे एरिया। Identifying false positive and false negatives, deciding on diagnostic is subjective. It depends on the industry you are working in, and it depends on the coding rules you are working with. False positive worry. False positive for one company might not be false positive for another. Here is a false positive example. You might be developing the software with what will go in a car. Life could be at risk if there are the issues in the software. So if you have a rule that there can be no BD's issue and you get a diagnostic there are, then you will need to be carefully evaluate each violation. But you might be developing software to go in an entertainment system, so you had want to dismiss false positive quickly. You only want to look at the true positive. False negative worry. Likewise, false negative for one company might not be false positive for another. Here is a false negative example. You might use the CERT and MISRA according rules in if you need to be really defensive about your program. A rule could be a false negative if you didn't catch the possibility of something happening, but for another company, if you it would be the false negative if it didn't catch the something that will absolutely happen. How to prove the false positive and false negative. How much work you need to do to prove the false positive and negative worries. If you are in the high risk, safely critical industry, you will need to prove it false. If you are in lower risk industry, you might be able to view the diagnostic, dismiss it as false to and move on. What is the false positive example? A false negative example. Different developers have the different interpretations of the diagnostics. This has to do with both the industry that are working in and their experiences. Here is how three types of the developers interpret diagnostics and how to reduce the false positive and false negatives. ये हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे। आज के लिए इतना ही काफ़ी है। मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। अल्लाह हाफिज़।